All right, good morning, friends. It's Vicky over at the terrace garden. This might be the last video this season. I'm not sure. It's September 20 something. I think it's like the first day of fall or maybe shortly thereafter. Anyway, we are definitely winding down, and I just wanted to kind of document what is still blooming, what is still looking good for my planning purposes next year. So I've been trying to study about this plant, which I think is ageratum maybe. So I was doing some research online, and it seems there is a annual and there is a perennial variety. So I'm not sure which one I have, although I did read that the annual can reseed and come back. So either way, maybe I'll get that back again next year, which I kind of like. The asters are finally in full bloom. Starting to get the falling leaves and everything. My dog is going crazy because the neighbors, I bet, just came out with their dog. So I'm gonna have to go up and get her in a minute. There's a tomato that has fallen down from my tomato garden up there. So as you can see, I did get mulched all the way on this second terrace finally. I'm also working on trying to use some of this corrugated metal siding, and then I'm gonna pound it down and make like a stairway coming down here, because it's extremely steep and it's hard for me to garden in that terrace unless I'm just climbing down. So that's another project that I'm working on. But anyway, just wanted to document what things are looking like right now. Oh, I did notice that deer came by and ate a bunch of my sweet potato vines. Not even something that I knew that they would do, but look at all those stems. Hang on, I'm gonna go get my dog. Okay, so I think I was just looking at this flower here. Looking very pretty. It's one of my hardy hibiscus. On this end I have this pink with the kind of berry red center. And on the other end I have one that's more of a solid red color. So I'm going to go down there one more time and see if we have any blooms on there. Don't you just love this Purple Prince annual growing in amongst the different colors and textures? No current blooms on this hardy hibiscus. That's a shame, but the season is wrapping up. But wow, those asters are finally performing. Speaking of asters, I was driving on my way here and I saw a bunch of asters on the side of the road that were, I don't know, a taller, very, very light purple variety, or you might say like a light bluish purple. So I'm not sure which ones they were, but I grabbed some seeds because they were starting to produce their seed heads, and I just grabbed a couple handfuls of seeds, and then I was on my way over here. So once I got here, I dropped those down in my meadow garden up at the top. So I'll try to remember next year, like, oh yeah, this is where I put those seeds, so I don't think it's weeds coming up and just pull it immediately. Since we have some 4 o'clocks open, thought we would try to get a little bit of those in here. Normally they would already be closed by now. It's probably 10 in the morning, I'm guessing, but it's so cool out right now. We have a cold front that moved in, and so it's basically letting these stay open longer. But as the day warms up, they will close. These are their seed heads that are forming. Actually, I'm sorry, this is a weed. This, you know what, I think this is a different kind of 4 o'clock, a wild one. I could be wrong, but I do get the wild 4 o'clocks that grow up into stuff, and this is what, no, that's a 4 o'clock. Yeah, I don't know, it's hard to tell the difference because there's the ones that most people grow that everybody calls 4 o'clocks, and then there's a wild variety also that we get in this area. Anyhow, but they are all starting to go to seed, as you can see. Great time of year to collect seed and share them with your friends, or move them to other parts of your garden if you want to start another 4 o'clock bed. It's super easy. I literally just, like, one of my friends has 4 o'clocks. She swept up a whole bunch of seeds, gave me a baggie full of them. It's probably like, I don't know, a couple ounces worth. And I spread them in this and this terrace here in, like, I'm not sure, April maybe it was. I'd have to look back at my videos. And then covered them with compost, and I had an entire bed of 4 o'clocks, 2 of them. So these would have looked better this year though if I had been able to water them appropriately. Next year I'm hoping to have water again at this house so that I can, starting in the spring, get things going water-wise. Holy moly. So these are my grape vines. And I don't know what that is. Some sort of insect or something is probably getting ready for winter. Maybe this is how they multiply. Does anybody know what that is? I'm going to pause and take a picture so I can ask my plant group. Okay, picking up on, excuse me, documenting what things are looking like right now in mid to late September. We have our Gara blooming, our whatever these pinkberry, whatever this bush is called, has got its little pink berries going. My lovely little Bonica has some flowers. I do have some dahlias that are looking pretty beautiful, growing in amongst the elderberry shrub. Also some dead ones that I would cut off had I brought clippers, but I did not. This white Gara shrub here is also blooming, and I have another one over here that is extra pretty. These are gorgeous. If we end up taking the porch off, I'm going to have to move all of these plants. So that's one of the things that I've been thinking about. I will be thinking about all winter and kind of planning is, like, you know, where am I going to relocate all these plants to? I'm hoping if we do end up doing the porch, that part can wait till like spring. Like if they're working on the back of the house, that's going to take the longest and most work. Nothing really in bloom in this area right now. I believe that this is the seed heads, so I don't think this is, yeah, I would say the little flowers have already passed, and these are the seed heads that are forming on the Sun King Aurelia. I'm probably going to move this in the spring as well, maybe just further back because it is pretty big now. These can also be split, and this is like its 3rd or 4th year, so I can probably definitely split it in the spring. And I'm thinking of taking this lemony lace elderberry out and moving it over into the meadow garden somewhere, because I want this to get a little more sun than it has been getting. It's just very droopy and low growing, which is fine, but I just feel like it would look better in a slightly sunnier spot. I want to put it in full sun, but something that's kind of part sun. So I'm probably going to move it to this area over here. Let's take a quick walk through here before I leave for the day. I am happy to see that this shrub, which I thought was completely dead, has brand new healthy looking leaves. So it is establishing. Now the next test is going to be, oh look, it's even trying to put out a little bloom. These are, it's one of those wine weigelas. I'm not sure which one, but it'll get like a kind of a berry ruby red bloom. Anyway, the next test is going to be to see, does it make it through winter, because it was definitely not properly watered once it was planted. So I'm happy to see that it is growing new growth, but with us going into a hard winter, I don't know if that will be enough to carry it through successfully. Again, next spring or summer, whenever I moved back into this house, I am planning to pull out these 2 rows of Sharon shrubs because they do reseed pretty heavily, and the deer just come by and eat them, and they can be invasive. I'm not really sure if they're invasive in our area, but I just don't feel comfortable risking it. So as pretty as they are, if the deer are going to keep eating off all the flowers and it's going to keep reseeding and causing me headaches, and it's possibly invasive, there's just not enough reason to keep them in here. And it's unfortunate because these are my biggest shrubs. I have one down there as well. So out of all of the shrubs I've put in this row, these have grown the fastest, and now they're going to have to go. My smoke bush is growing really fast though. Do you guys remember? So earlier in the year, before the tree fell, it was probably about, I'd say probably about 2.5 feet tall. And then the tree fell and hit it, and it took out most of its branches. So I had to cut it back, and then it was only like maybe a foot tall, and it has already sprung up. It is past my waist, so I would say it's at least 3.5 feet tall now. So that shrub should get pretty big next year, which is exciting. I believe the deer have definitely been eating on this shrub here, which I think is a sand cherry. I have the tag on one of its pots because I've got 2 of them over at my other house. I saw it the other day, and I want to say it said sand cherry shrub. So I've got that one, and I've got this one, which they've really almost eaten all the leaves off of it. The deer seem to be especially hungry this year. Like, I wonder if they're having a famine or something, because, you know, I just showed you the sweet potato vines down there by my terrace that they were eating on. It just seems like they're eating a lot of stuff this year. Look at my carrot plants. Something has been munching on those, which I don't really ever see rabbits, but I suppose that could also be a possibility. But those stems are up pretty high. They're more at deer munching level. Here's a little patch of thyme I planted to try to get that growing in between my pathways. I planted multiple of them, but that seems to be the only one that took really well. Here's my 9 bark, even smaller than before. I'm 100% convinced that the deer are just eating the heck out of this thing. Oh look, you see those stem tips? They're just eating it down to the nub. So when I get my fenced in yard back, that is definitely a plant that is going behind the fence. My buffalo berry native shrub is looking awesome. I love that silvery gray color. It's getting pretty big. There's some self-seeded cannas from my neighbor's cannas that are right down in there. This happens pretty much every year, that somewhere along this wall I get some self-seeded cannas. And honestly, I don't typically pull them out. I just let them be, but it's not really the aesthetic that I'm going for over here. So if you guys have been watching back in spring and early summer before the tree happened, I was planning on this whole garden was going to be kind of like my part shade hydrangea garden that transitioned into like a meadow garden on this upper terrace level. So like down here we were going to be doing hydrangeas and stuff, and then it was going to transition to like a more sunny, meadowy area back here. Now that the tree has come down, we have more sun. I would still consider it part shade, especially toward the front of this garden, because up there we have these other two trees, well, more than two, but we have this grouping of trees up there that do shield out the sun part of the time. But the thing to remember is, like, right now the sun is over there and it's going to kind of track that way, right? But during summer, it's more directly overhead, and so it goes directly over us. So at different times of year, this garden space gets different amounts of light. But anyway, what I'm going with for planting is that it's definitely sunnier now on this end of this garden than it was before. And it is still part shade down there. So that's going to guide my future planting choices for next year. But now that I know the deer are eating most of my hosta, hosta, I meant to say hydrangea. So my roses, my hydrangeas, the sand cherry shrubs, like all of these things that the deer are heavily eating, I'm going to have to move now to behind the fence. So much change that I wasn't planning for earlier this year is now going to have to happen. And so instead of being a hydrangea garden in here, all the hydrangeas are going to be moved into the newly fenced in area that will be becoming this space once this part of the house is torn down. And then so that's going to leave a lot more openings for, you know, I'm still continuing to add to my hedge wall back here between my house and the neighbor's house. But all of the rest of this area, I'm now thinking really heavily, this is all going to be meadow. So instead of having just the smaller area up here be meadow, it's probably going to be all meadow type plants in here. So this will be my meadow garden. Back here where it's going to be fenced is going to be my hydrangeas and roses and other plants that the deer like to eat. And then the terrace garden will continue, you know, kind of doing what we were doing up there. Well, hey there, Juniper. Hi, buddy. Let me get you a pet. Hang on. I got secret held back. Hi, baby. This is a neighborhood cat that I don't know who owns him, but he does have a flea collar, and my kids have been calling this cat Juniper for a really long time. He's kind of thinnish and a little bony, but I think that he's thin because he's older. And to be honest with you, it's sad, but I'm kind of surprised to see him because I hadn't seen him for quite a while. But he's always such a sweetheart. And when we were living here, I used to put wet food out for him whenever I would see him, but I didn't see him that often. It would be, you know, here and there. Junie, I'm sorry I don't have any wet food for you because I don't even live here anymore. You little sweetheart. This is like one of the most affectionate cats. Like, it just came up here for attention, even though I had my dog. Like, I'm standing on her leash right now, so she can't get him. But usually she'll chase after. Stop it. You stop it. See, just like that. And she barely has any teeth, so she can't actually hurt him. Like, she's with our two cats at home all the time, but she likes to try to intimidate. Sorry, Juniper. Sorry, buddy. Glad I got to see ya. So yeah, anyway, I think what I was saying is that this is going to be more meadow than I had initially intended, but I'm not sad about that at all. I'm glad it's going to be expanding into more meadow area, and back here will be a bigger fenced-in area than what we currently had, so that's going to be good because I'll have more fenced-in area to protect my plants. And so, again, if you haven't seen the earlier videos, this whole part of the house that has to be demolished and rebuilt, instead of going narrow and long back this way, I'm going to ask the builders if we can add to this side of the house up here. I want to put the kitchen like up there probably, or maybe a couple of bedrooms and then the kitchen. But either way, this house I want to go longer this way and stop like around there probably. And then all of this space back here and going over that way will all become fenced in. And I think that is going to be awesome. And not only will it help me with protecting my plants from the deer, but it's just going to make the house look more balanced anyway, because the way that our house is, it has 3 windows on one side and then the door on the other side. So it's like the door is just on one end of the house and the windows are all on the other side of it. And it doesn't, it doesn't look bad. I love the house. I fell in love with it when I first saw it, but I think it will look better if we add to its width. The front view will be wider than it currently is. So let me try to go this way so we can imagine it. So instead of being the 3 windows and a door, it'll keep going and have maybe 2 or 3 more windows going this way and adding to it. It's going to be single story though. I don't believe that we're going to attempt to add, you know, a second story over here. I just want to build the addition off to this side so that the house is wider and doesn't go back as deep into the property, so that we can use that area for a fenced in yard. So that's the plan. I am determined that that's what's going to happen. But what got me started on talking about that is just that there's so many changes that I now have to make to the garden because of all of the stuff that's happened and all of the reworking of everything that we're going to be doing. So I will be a busy little bee over winter time thinking about all of the exact specifications for how I want those changes to go. Okay, well, I've probably dragged on long enough. Things I've got to do. Finish trying to install this metal siding, or yeah, metal, I guess that's what you would call it, edging. And I'm going to make the stairs going down with that. I don't have a hammer with me. I do actually at this house, but it's like buried in the rubble, so I can't get to it. So I just need to go get a hammer, I guess, from Ace Hardware or something, and come back because it is way too hard to get the metal down. I was trying to use that piece of wood right there. And because it hasn't really been raining here and I don't have a hose, I can't even like soften the ground. So it's just very slow going. But yeah, I'm going to be working on that, and I got to bring the lawnmower over one last time, and I'm going to mow this front strip here that looks so terrible now that they're finally done with the road, and then mow this yard one more time. And then I think I will hopefully be done with any kind of lawn maintenance for the season, and we'll just be focusing on what starts happening with the house getting rebuilt, because that should start any day now. Literally, the insurance payout should happen any day, any moment, and then we can start getting the construction going. So that's where we're at with that, you guys. But as I was saying, I have rambled on long enough. If I don't talk to you again, you know, I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will be posting more videos. They just probably won't be like garden content related, but I'll at least post videos for my family and friends who care to see the progress with the house as that building starts happening, because that's going to be happening all fall/winter and spring, and that's exciting for us, and you know, I'm sure it's probably a little bit exciting for others to see. So I will post that sort of video. All right, talk to you guys next time.